Hi, Algebra 2 kids. This is Dr. Callahan for week 10 Monday. This is your warm-up blog. So pause the video and answer the following 3 questions. All right, so here's your answer for questions number 1 and 2. It's pretty simple. It's just a radical. So all you're doing is you're looking at the square root of 36, which 2 numbers multiply together, and they have to be the same number, give you 36, and that is what you should have. At this point, you guys should have your purple warm-up blog on your desk. And just keep in mind, if you're just simply sitting here and sleeping, that's fine. That's entirely up to you. I mean, I'm not going to poke the bear if you're going to be respectful and, you're not disrupting class. But just keep in mind that if you're not here and present in class, it's 50%, right? Because that's how we deal with the 5 to 10. But if you're in here, but you're not doing anything, you'll get a 5.5, which is a 55%. So you're still not passing, but I want to make sure that there is a difference between somebody who shows up versus somebody who doesn't show up at all. And then you just need to get to a 60% to pass a class. So just keep that in mind, So for those of you guys who are sitting here just looking at your cell phones, you're not disrupting my class, so I'm not going to bother you about it, but your grades will be impacted by that because you need to at least give me 60% of effort. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So that way when we are done with the semester, there's no confusions as to where you stand with that. So we are done with your first week 1 to 9. And I just have a quick little submission for you guys, which I can do this later. We don't have to do this right now. What we did last class was that we started celebrating Pi Day, because Pi Day is on March 14th, but that's next Monday. Next week is spring break, so I won't see you guys. So we'll be just sporadically celebrating Pi Day this week, and we started last Friday. So on Friday, this is what we did. I had you guys go ahead and basically outline the diagrams of pi using a Dreamweaver. So this is what you did. If you don't have that, make sure you come see me so I can give you guys a copy of that. And then we talked about this, which is your exponent rules. And so if you are not here for that, does anybody need a copy of this from last class on Friday? If you need a copy, please come up so I can give you guys a copy. Oh, that's you. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So this is week 10. Your Math Excel is already due for that. So I'm going to reopen it. So that way, if you guys do need some extra time, there will be a penalty of 10 to 40%, but you do have it open. So if you didn't complete for week 9, I'm going to reopen it right now so that we can still do it. So again, you guys go to Washoe County School District Math Excel. Once you get to this page, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to go over to my assignment manager, and then this is where your week 9 is. I'm going to reopen the quiz from last week and also the homework. You had 10 questions for your homework and then 5 questions for your quiz. So if you do not complete that, just keep in mind this Wednesday, I'm going to be updating it. So make sure you guys do that. I'm going to open it until June 2nd. But just know that, it's 10 to 40% penalty. So the sooner you turn it in, obviously, the better. Okay, save and assign. And let me see the other. Okay, so everything is open now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to your homework. This week, we are going to be talking about radicals and exponent of radicals. And so this is going to be your assignment. I'm going to go ahead and click edit. And actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and just make sure that is correct. So this is now in week 10, and for week 10, we've already done rewriting rational exponents and radicals. I can perform complex problem dealing with properties of exponents and radicals. So we did that last week. So that was back in week 9. This week, we're going to be graphing them and then solving them. So those are the 2 skills. Here is a breakdown of your topics on a map or on a calendar so that way you know exactly where we are. And so I'm going to go back to your math Excel here. And I'm just going to type in week 10, algebra 2, semester 2. And just to make sure I want to make sure you guys don't have too many questions. There are 21 questions in here. So let me go ahead and change that a little bit. So let's decrease that a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so it's just 10 questions. And then this is going to be due this coming Sunday, which is going to be March 13th at 11 p.m. You guys have 3 attempts for each question and save and assign. All right, so you guys now have your week 10 homework assignment. And then this Wednesday, I will go ahead and assign the next one for you guys. Okay, so that's kind of how it's going to be. All right, so let's go back to this, you guys. So this is kind of where we are. We're this entire week, we're going to talk about properties of exponent and radical functions. Then you guys have spring break next week. So spring break, you have week 1, week 2, and then when you guys come back, which is March 28th, that will be week 11 of our regular schedule. And then we will finish this towards the middle of April, and we're going to move on to the next unit then. So this is your breakdown. So today we're going to talk about properties of exponents and radical functions. Your activity today is you're going to have a guided note in color packet. And so 5.2, we're going to go over that. You guys are also going to, let me change this a little bit. Let's see, where is that? You have your Math Excel 10 that's already opened and it's due till Sunday. The materials you need in class is your handout. I'm going to give you guys a foldable. You're going to turn that in at the end of class and then just your guided note color packet. So what I want you guys to do right now, come on up. Does anybody need the guided notes? I have it right here, so make sure you guys grab that. And then also you need to have your foldable, which is right here. So come on up and grab a foldable right here. And you don't need color pencils. So that foldable needs to be turned in to me before you guys leave today. Okay, so I want you guys to turn over to the section right here, which is on 5.2 of your guided notes. And it basically says properties of exponents and radicals. So first thing it says, get ready. What is another way of rewriting this problem and what does it equal to? Well, another way of writing this is just expanded form. So if you were to expand this, there are 4 2s multiplied together. So what is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? If you think about it, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 gives me 8. 8 times 2 is going to give you a 16. If you're like, how do I find that on my calculator? I'm just going to bring this up for you guys so I can show you where the buttons are. So you put the 2 right there. And then you see the little caret, that little triangle without the base. And then you just put 4, enter, and it'll give you 16. Okay, it's not 2 times 4, it's not 8, it's 2 times 2 times 2, 4 2s timed together. Okay, so it's important that you guys know that. There are parts of this as well. The 5 right here is called the base. That 2 is called the exponent. So let's go ahead and practice with that a little bit. Okay, so it says practice. Put a circle around the base and a square around the exponent. So go ahead and do that. So put a circle around the base and a square around the exponent. So you guys do number 2 and 3. And again, if you're on your cell phone, that's up to you, but keep in mind that this is going to be due, and if it's going to be blank, you don't get the points for it, you get 55%. All right, let's go into the next one. Read the instructions right here for number 1. I'm going to fill out that chart. All right, so let's take a look at this, you guys. So looking at the expression right here, what is the value, which is what is it equal to? Okay, so if you have 2 squared, that's the same thing as saying 2 times 2. 2 to the 3rd power is the same thing as saying 2 times 2 times 2. So then with your calculator, so if you have a calculator on your desk, what is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2? So what is 2 to the 6th power? Which gives you a 64, okay? Then I'm going to take a look at the other side. So this part right here is kind of like the middle. On the right side, you have 2 to the 5th power. That's saying 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. There's 5 of them. So then with your calculator, what is 2 to the 5th? That gives you 32. So I'm going to put 32 right there. Now, looking at these two, which one is bigger or are they equal? 64 and 32. I don't know about you, but it's probably going to be that inequality sign where the mouth wants to eat the bigger number, okay? All right, number 2. So number 2, 2 to the 2nd power, 2 to the 4th power. Rather than writing a bunch of 2's together, you can just add the exponents together. So what's 2 plus 4? 6. What is 2 to the 6th power? With your calculators, you just simply put, and I'm going to transition over here, 2 to the 6th power, enter, and then you guys get 64. So I have 64 here, and guess what? These two are exactly the same, so it's going to be 64 on the right side as well. So then what is your symbol? Probably equal. Will probably be it. Take a look at number 3, you guys. For number 3, you're going to have 1.2 squared times 1.2 to the 4th. So you just put 1.2, 2 plus 4 is going to be to the 6th power. What is that going to equal to? Well, with my calculator, I put 1.2. Make sure you put the little exponent caret symbol and then put 6. That's equal to 2.96 or 2.99, I should say. So that's going to be 2.99. This one is exactly the same, 2.99. So my symbol is going to be equal. Okay, so next one. Here you have 1 over 3 as your base. So 1 over 3. 2 plus 6 is to the 8th power. Okay, so then with your calculator, I'm just going to do 1 divided by 8. You can hit enter, which gives you 1 divided by 3. not 8. I don't know where I got that from. 1 divided by 3, enter, gives you 0.33. And then with the 0.33, you put the little caret again, and you just put 8. Enter. And notice that it has like the e to the negative 4. So what that means, you get to move your spaces 4 to the left. So it's 1.5 e to the negative 4. So you got to be careful with that. So 1.5 e to the negative 4 means that you have to move your decimals 1, 2, 3, 4 steps to the left. Put the dot there and then put down 1, 2, 3 zeros. So your answer is 0.123015. On the right side, it's going to be exactly the same thing. So then these two are equal. All right, so then let's go ahead and take a look at the next part. Power of a product property. So for any non-zero values of a and b, and for the integer n, what you do in this situation is you are going to just simply distribute that n in here and in here. So you have a to the n times b to the n. Now, on the other hand, if it's 2 times 5 to the n power, you can multiply this first inside the parentheses. So that's 10 to the n power. All right, let's go on to the next part. So now we're going to go ahead and fill out some of these rules, okay? So you have product of a power property, quotient of a power property, and right next to it, do you guys see how the formula is right there next to it? So you can use this on your quizzes. So the first one is if you're multiplying two numbers with the same base, you add the exponent. So what that looks like is if you look at the first example, do you see how the 5 and the 5 are exactly the same? It's just going to be 5, 2 plus 8, or 6 is 8 power. And then, of course, you have to expand that. So put 5 on your calculator, caret 8, and that gives you 39,065. Then if you have letters like the next one, do you see how there's 4 plus 3 plus the 1 right there? So it's y to the 8th power. If I have to go ahead and now mix them together like the last two example, the first one I'm going to have is 7 times 6, which is going to be a 42. And then you count your y's. There's 5 right there. There's 1 right there. 5 and 1 gives me 6. Similarly, with the second one, you have 3 and 5. If you multiply them together, that gives you a negative 15. And you count how many x's do you have? You have a 2 and a 1, so that's 3. Then look at your y's. 5 and 6, or I'm sorry, 7 and 6 is going to give you a 13. And that is the power of powers, where if you have the same base, you just simply add the exponent. Now let's go down and take a look at the quotient of a power. So with this one, you have the same base top and bottom. Quotient means divide, okay? So you always move the smaller exponent. So here I have y to the 6, y to the 1. Which one's smaller? 1 is smaller, so when I move it up, you have to change the sign and subtract it. So y to the 6 minus 1 which is y to the 5th power. Similarly, with the next example, 2 is smaller, bring it up. You have to subtract it. What's 13 minus 2? 11. So then what is your answer? 6 to the 11th power. If I were to put this into my calculator, I go ahead and push 6, caret 11. And that gives me a really big number. It's like 67, 36, 27, 97, 056. And honestly, I think it's just easier if I just type this in. So hold on, give me 1 minute here. Let me. There we go. There's your answer. Now, if you're putting this like in terms of, you always put like a decimal after 3 digits. So the way you read it is 362,797,056. All right, next one. You have a 10 and a 15. Now, you can divide them directly, but you can reduce it by 5. 10 divided by 5 is a 2. 15 divided by 5 is a 3. So there's your first part. Then you look at your A's. My 5 is smaller, so you're going to move that 5 up. So what's 7 minus 5? 7 minus 5 is a 2, so A squared. Then I look over here. Do you see how they're both exactly the same? Number 9, you just cancel them out. It's just gone. So then this is your answer. All right, so we did 2 of the rules. Let's go on to the last 2. Or I'm sorry, there's 3 more, 4 more. Holy crap, 5 more. Sorry. I'm like, we'll go fast, I promise. All right, power of a power rule and then power of a product. So take a look at it, see the difference between the 2. All right, so for the first one, notice how there's only one base. If it's just one base, like there's just one x, what you do is you multiply them. So 2 times 8 is going to give me a 16. So x is a 16. Same thing with a y, okay? Here you have y to the -3 to the -4 power. Well, what's -3 times -4? Positive 12. That's all you need to know with power of a power property. Let's now go to power of a product property. So with this one, notice what you're doing is you have your M and you're going to distribute it to the A and you're going to distribute it to the B. Okay. So for the first example, your power is a 3, distribute to the 4, to the X, to the Y, and to the Z. So you're going to do it 4 times. So you have 4 to the 3rd power. X 3 times 3 is 9. Y 1 times 3 is just 3. Z 1 times 3 is just 3. But you do have 4 to the 3rd power, so you can expand that to 4 times 4 times 4 3 times. So what is 16 times 4? 64, x to the 9, y to the 3rd, z to the 3rd, and that's your answer. All right, let's take a look at the next one over here. So looking at this right here, you have a -2, which I personally don't like having. But if you want to make this into a positive, you just move this down to the denominator. You put a 1 on top. You have 7xy to the -2 power. And guess what? Now it's a positive 2. Okay, just move it down. After that, you're going to go ahead and distribute it. So when you just distribute this, you're going to have 1 over 7 squared x squared y to the negative 4th. And I don't want to have any negatives. I'm going to rewrite this a little bit. So I have denominator, 7 times 7 is a 49. It stays on the bottom. X squared is good, stays on the bottom. But that y to the negative 4th, I don't want a negative, so I'm going to push it up, and it's going to make it into a positive 4, like that. All right, your very last one, you guys. So for your last one here, you have a negative 2, which I don't particularly like. I'm actually going to go ahead and show you guys how to do this on a separate slide because this one requires a little bit more work. So I'm going to go back over here and move it a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so there's a negative 2 right there. I don't like having that negative. So I'm going to move this down to the denominator. So 1 goes on top. On the bottom, you have 6x to the negative 6, y to the negative 7, z to the 0 power, and then now it's a positive 2, okay? Once you have that, you're going to distribute it. So you have 6 squared, negative 6 times 2 is a negative 12, y, negative 14, z, 0 times 2 is just 0. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify this a little bit. 6 times 6 is a 36. That stays on the bottom. This x, you guys, is a negative. We're going to move it on top. So it becomes x to the positive 12. This y is a negative 14. Move it on top. It becomes a positive 14. What is z to the 0 power? Grab your calculator. Just put any number to the 0 power. A lot of people will say it's 0 because it's just easier to think it that way, but it's not. So you don't want to put 0 because then it makes it wrong. So let's just say 5 to the 0 power. So you put 5 to the 0 power, you hit enter, and what do you guys get? You get a 1. So anything to the 0 power, this is just 1. 1 times 36 is just 36. So that is your answer right there. All right. I think I'm going to go on to this one and we're good. Power of a quotient. Oh my goodness. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Go ahead and read it yourself. We're almost done, you guys, so don't worry. So if you look at this, you have the m. All you're doing is you're just distributing that m to the a and then also to the b. Okay, so then looking at the first part here, what we're going to do is I'm going to take that 2, distribute to the 3, distribute to the 5. So I have 3 squared, 5 squared. Well, what's 3 times 3 and 5 times 5? I can't reduce that, so that's it. All right, let's take a look at the next one. On the right side, so you have 4 questions. We're going to do the one on the right. So with this one, you're going to take that 2, distribute the 2 into the A, and then also to the B. So see where my little arrows are at? You're going to do it to all 3 of them. And when you do that, 2 squared is 2 times 2. That's going to give you a 4 on top. 5 times 2 is a 10. That's how many A's you have. 7 times 2 is 14. And that's what you have for B. Can't cancel anything because there's nothing the same top and bottom. And so that's it. You just keep it as that. All right, you guys, let's take a look at the bottom, okay? So for the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and actually move that a little bit so you can see a little bit better if I were to like move it up. So just give me 1 second while I change this. All right, so here we go. So these are your last two questions. We're going to take that 3, multiply to the 3, to the A, and then to the B. 3 cubed is saying 3 times 3 times 3, 3 times, which gives me a 27. Negative 4 times 3 is a negative 12. 7 times 3 is a 21. But with this one, you don't want to have any negative exponents. I don't like having the negative 12 right there. So you got to move it down to make it a positive. So your answer is 27 stays on top. A goes down to the bottom. It's a positive 12. B to the 21 power. All right, last example, you guys, and then we'll have you guys do a little bit of work on your own. Take that negative 6. So with that negative 6, I'm going to distribute to the A, to the B, and then to the C. All right, so negative 2 times negative 6 is going to give me a positive 12. Negative 5 times negative 6 is a positive 30. Negative 11 times negative 6 is a positive 66. There's nothing else you can cancel, so you can just keep it as is right there. And that's it. Those are your 5 different formulas. It's kind of like a review from Algebra 1, but in Algebra 2, it's like a continuation of that. Okay, and this one's gonna be super easy, so I'm just gonna show you guys very quickly. Anytime you have the same number on top and bottom, you just cancel it and it becomes 1. So anytime you have an exponent to the 0 power, it's not 0. A lot of people will say, yeah, it's 0. No, that's wrong. It's always 1. So on the right side, you know 8 times x to the 0 power is the same thing as saying x 8 times 1 plus the 5 is just 8 plus 5, which is 13. Okay. And so anytime you have a 0 exponent, it's just 1, not 0, 1. And if you're not sure, just type into your calculator, 100 to the 0 power, 1. 20 to the 0 power, just 1. So you can always validate that with your calculator. All right, so now what I'll have you guys do is with your foldable, does everybody have that? All right, so first thing I want you to do is take a look at the left side of your foldable right there, okay? These are all the rules that we just went over. Now, what I want you guys to do is you need to go ahead and match everything on the left side to one of these formulas. And you're gonna write these formulas on the back of your flaps, okay? So you see how you have the flaps right here? You need to write down those formulas onto that. So take about 2 minutes and ask yourself, which one of those flaps is gonna be the 0 division? Which one's gonna be 0? Which one's gonna be multiplication, negative, power to a power, quotient to a power, product to a power? And there is, let's see, there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different flaps there. So match those words to the outside of your foldable and just write it down on the back, okay? So take about a couple of minutes. Next, I'm gonna have you guys do is you are going to take a look at the inside of your flaps specifically, and you should have this part right here. Okay, your rules are on the left side, which is right here in yellow. So open your foldable. And then on the right side are the examples. So in green, I want you to write down the answers of these because I already went over these with you guys on your guided notes. Now you need to tell me what is my answer to these questions. So go ahead and take a moment and finish responding to those. You guys have about 15 minutes in class, and then you'll just be turning this in before you guys leave. Okay, so go ahead and get started with that.